I'm Kent Webb. I'm the manager of technical service and support. So what I do a lot of is technical support with technicians and dealers in the field. I'm in charge of the training programs that we have, bringing technicians in and teaching them concert service on the pianos. We have over 400,000 square feet of production space and administrative space here. And when we're working at full capacity, we have about 400 craftspeople working on the pianos.
Buildings date back to prior to 1900, in fact the late 1880s. The oldest buildings are down there, which is now the Restoration Center. And then other buildings were built on as production increased over here. The lumber yard is where we bring in the fresh lumber. And it comes in at a pretty high moisture content, or what we call the equilibrium moisture content. So it comes in with a lot of moisture in it, so we let it air dry out here for a specified period of time. And then we take it into one of the kilns that we have, where we will dry that wood down to about 5.5% to 6% moisture content. Again, when we're working at full capacity, it's not uncommon to have $2 million worth of lumber out here in the yard.
That's like a gold mine.
We've recently installed solar panels up here for heat and for temperature exchange. The loading docks. In fact, you can see where the horses used to be hitched up. These are the main drying kilns that we have. So the wood comes out of the lumber yard after it's dried down to a specified moisture content. Then we bring it into these large rooms where it's dried down to 5.5% to 6% moisture content. Here you see some of the maple drying. Maple is a very important wood for us because it's used in so many components such as the action carts, the rim. So this is one of the rim bending presses that we use. The laminations of maple will go around this inner caul. The outer cauls will then go on. This defines the shape of the rim. The outer cauls with the pressure with the clamps define the pressure by which the rim is pressed. The rims will stay in anywhere from 4 hours to 24 hours depending upon the size of the piano. So that really is the place where Steinways are born. Think about so many of the famous Steinways over the years that have graced the concert stage and the incredible artists that have played them, from Horowitz, Paderewski, Rubinstein, all these people, the White House pianos, and all the people that have played there. They came from this press. This is the maple. This is going to be a Steinway D in about a year. If you look at a Steinway, an absolute majority of the percentage of the wood that you see that comprises the shape of that piano is hard wrought maple. Only the very thinnest exterior layers are the beautiful woods that you see, such as the Babingas or the Macassar ebonies or the East Indian rosewoods. Crown jewel Veneer ball.
Thank you.
Wonderful exotic wood sitting in here aging for 12 months or so, conditioning to the point where we can use it on the pianos. Now some of this wood is, of course all of this wood is very expensive. You can easily reach $1 million worth of veneer in here. One of my favorites, this is Macassar ebony. Now each stack that you see here is the veneer from one tree. And that's very important to us because when we choose the veneer that's going to be on every piece of the piano, we can normally get about 3 pianos worth of veneer from a flitch of Macassar ebony. And this is very expensive. It's been told to me before that a flitch of Macassar ebony can cost upwards of $30,000 just for the wood alone. Babinga from Africa. Sapelli, which is another beautiful wood. The figured sapelli, which is even more so. The homily sapelli, which is maybe even beyond that. Traditional American woods such as the cherry and the walnuts. What we do is we spray 4 coats of pigmented lacquer and then we spray 4 coats of clear lacquer. Though it has to be sprayed very carefully because we use thick coatings. So therefore it has to be heated in a unique process to Steinway. And only through that process can we get the kind of rich patina and depth that we're looking for that's synonymous with a Steinway finish. These are made for us by Kelly Manufacturing in Springfield, one of our divisions of operations. You were asking about parts replacement. Parts replacement is very common, particularly Steinways where they are subjected to such intense scrutiny on the performance stage. We may, in the concert and artist department, replace a set of hammers after a year or after a couple of years. I can liken it again to a race car where the engine is replaced after every race.
Are you at liberty to mention concert halls or particular clients who ask for part replacements and what type of parts they have been?
The most common part probably to replace, and the earliest cycle of change, would be the hammers. The hammers take the most wear and tear. And here you have felt competing against the density of a string, with constant force being applied on every note.
Would you happen to know which concert halls around the world that might have the Steinway?
When we do our surveys, we find that about 95% of the major concert, that's a camera alarm.
Oh,
Not kidding.
oops.
But we find that about 95% of the major concert venues surveyed, Steinway is the piano of preference. It's almost like the classic throw a dart at the map and you're going to hit a concert hall that uses Steinways. And uses them on a continuing basis because of the preference of the artists that play them. Those are the components that we put together and assemble, and some of them, most of them manufactured here. This is the selection room, where artists, institutional committees, and staff will come in, and they will choose the pianos for their needs. We keep about 6 Ds and 6 Bs in here at all time, concert ready. We have technical staff that's dedicated solely to the maintenance on the pianos in these rooms day in and day out. The Bs, of course, being 6'10" pianos, would be more appropriate for, let's say, a studio need or a small concert hall. Whereas the Ds, on the other hand, we always have concert ready for the larger venues and concert halls where they need a 9-foot concert grant. We've talked about a lot of very interesting pianos here in the manufacturing of the pianos. This is perhaps the most important and fascinating piano in the entire operation that we have. This is the piano from 1836, what we commonly call the kitchen piano. This was made by the Steinways before they were the Steinways. They were still the Steinways at that point. This piano was manufactured in Sassen, Germany, much as a prototype to their later endeavors that became what we see here in manufacturing today. It's antiquated design, of course, since it was made in the early 1800s. Straight, strong grand, no cast iron plate, totally enclosed bottom for rigidity of the rim. The pedal assembly is archaic compared to today's standards, and the scope of the scale is limited. But what a fascinating anchor to our heritage when we have this.